Question 1. When Europeans explored Canada, they discovered that all regions were already occupied by native peoples, whom they called Indians because A. They thought they had reached the East Indies. B. They believed the natives came from India. C. They mistook them for South Asians. D. They had been told they were from India. The correct answer is A. They thought they had reached the East Indies. Explanation: when Europeans explored Canada, they found that all regions were already occupied by native peoples, whom they called Indians, due to their mistaken belief that they had reached the Indies. Question 2. How did Europeans affect the native way of life in Canada? A. No impact. B. Reinforced customs. C. Minimal changes. D. Major changes. The correct answer is D. Major changes. Explanation: European arrival brought significant cultural, social, and environmental changes for Indigenous peoples in Canada. Question 3. Before the arrival of Europeans, native peoples A. Relied solely on farming for food. B. Lived in large cities with advanced infrastructure. C. Lived off the land, some by hunting and gathering, others by raising crops. D. Traded primarily with Europeans for survival. The correct answer is C. Lived off the land, some by hunting and gathering, others by raising crops. Explanation: before Europeans arrived, native peoples had developed complex societies with distinct languages, cultures, and lifestyles closely tied to their natural environment. Question 4. Who were the first people to live in Canada? A. British settlers. B. Aboriginal peoples. C. European explorers. D. American pioneers. The correct answer is B. Aboriginal peoples. Explanation: Aboriginal peoples were the original inhabitants of Canada. Question 5. Who were the first Europeans to settle in Canada? A. Spanish. B. Dutch. C. French. D. English. The correct answer is C. French. Explanation: the French were the first Europeans to establish settlements in Canada, mainly around Quebec and the St. Lawrence River. Question 6. What did the Huron-Wendat and Iroquois do for survival? A. Both farming and hunting. B. Both herding animals and trading. C. Both fishing and trading. D. Raising crops only. The correct answer is A. Both farming and hunting. Explanation: the Huron-Wendat and Iroquois practiced agriculture, cultivating crops for their communities. Question 7. Among native peoples, who were primarily hunter-gatherers? A. The Inuit. B. The Sioux. C. The Cree and Dene of the Northwest. D. The Huron-Wendat. The correct answer is C. The Cree and Dene of the Northwest. Explanation: native groups such as the Cree and Dene were primarily hunter-gatherers, relying on hunting, fishing, and gathering for their needs. Question 8. Which of the following natives were nomadic and followed the bison herds for food, clothing, and shelter? A. The Inuit. B. The Sioux. C. The Huron-Wendat. D. The Cree. The correct answer is B. The Sioux. Explanation: The Sioux were nomadic natives who followed the bison herds for food, clothing, and shelter. Their way of life depended on the movement of these herds. Question 9. Which of the following natives lived off Arctic wildlife? A. The Iroquois. B. The Inuit. C. The Algonquin. D. The Huron. The correct answer is B. The Inuit. Explanation: the Inuit relied on Arctic wildlife, hunting seals, whales, and caribou for food, clothing, and survival materials in their harsh environment. Question 10. How did West Coast natives preserve fish for trade and sustenance? A. By freezing it in caves. B. By salting it. C. By drying and smoking it. D. By boiling and storing it. The correct answer is C. By drying and smoking it. Explanation: West Coast natives preserved fish for trade and sustenance by drying and smoking it. Question 11. Despite hardships, what bonds did Aboriginals and Europeans form during their first 200 years of coexistence? A. Economic, religious and military. B. Political, cultural and military. C. Military, trade and educational. D. Religious, economic and educational. The correct answer is A. Economic, religious and military. Explanation: despite hardships, Aboriginals and Europeans formed trading partnerships and military alliances during their first 200 years of coexistence. Question 12. Who was the first European to map Canada's Atlantic shore? A. Jacques Cartier. B. John Cabot. C. Leif Erikson. D. Samuel de Champlain. The correct answer is B. John Cabot. Explanation: John Cabot was the first European to map Canada's Atlantic shore in 1497, marking the beginning of European exploration in the region. Question 13. When did English settlement in Newfoundland begin? A. In 1497. B. In 1534. C. In 1600. D. In 1610. The correct answer is D. In 1610. Explanation: English settlement in Newfoundland began in the early 1600s. Question 14. Which European explorer was the first to navigate the St. Lawrence River and to set eyes on present-day Quebec City and Montreal? A. Jacques Cartier. B. John Cabot. C. Leif Erikson. D. Samuel de Champlain. The correct answer is A. Jacques Cartier. Explanation: Jacques Cartier was the first European explorer to navigate the St. Lawrence River, seeing present-day Quebec City and Montreal during his voyages in the 1530s. Question 15. Who were the first Europeans to reach Labrador and Newfoundland around 1,000 years ago? A. The French. B. The British. C. The Vikings. D. The Spanish. The correct answer is C. The Vikings. Explanation: the Vikings were the first Europeans to reach Labrador and Newfoundland about 1,000 years ago. Question 16. What is the name of the Viking settlement in Newfoundland that is now a World Heritage Site? A. Elance Auxiliary Meadows. B. Vinland. C. Avalon Peninsula. D. Red Bay. The correct answer is A. Elance Auxiliary Meadows. Explanation: the Viking settlement in Newfoundland, called Elance Auxiliary Meadows, is now a World Heritage Site. Question 17. When did European exploration of Canada officially begin? A. In 1534. B. In 1610. C. In 1497. D. In 1300. The correct answer is C. In 1497. Explanation: European exploration of Canada officially began in 1497 with John Cabot's expedition. Question 18. Who led the expedition that marked the beginning of European exploration of Canada? A. Jacques Cartier. B. Samuel de Champlain. C. John Cabot. D. Martin Ward-Seymour. The correct answer is C. John Cabot. Explanation: the expedition that marked the beginning of European exploration of Canada was led by the Italian explorer John Cabot, Giovanni Caboto, in 1497. Sailing under an English flag, Cabot reached the coast of what is now Newfoundland, marking the first recorded European exploration of Canada. Question 19. Between 1534 and 1542, Jacques Cartier made 3 voyages across the Atlantic, claiming the land for A. King Henry VIII of England. B. King Francis of France. C. King Charles V of Spain. D. King Louis IV of France. The correct answer is B. King Francis I of France. Explanation: between 1534 and 1542, Jacques Cartier made 3 voyages across the Atlantic, claiming land for King Francis I of France, and mapping parts of Canada's eastern coast. Question 20. What is the origin of the name Canada? A. It comes from the Iroquoian term Karnata, meaning village. B. It comes from the Inuit term Karnata, meaning settlement. C. It comes from the Iroquoian term Karnata, meaning territory. D. It comes from the Iroquoian term Karnata, meaning home. The correct answer is A. It comes from the Iroquoian term Karnata, meaning village. Explanation: the name Canada comes from the Iroquoian word Karnata, which means village or settlement. Early French explorers used this term to describe the region. Question 21. When did the name Canada start appearing on maps? A. By 1600s. B. By 1490s. C. By 1550s. D. By 1700s. The correct answer is C. By 1550s. Explanation: the name Canada began appearing on maps in the early 1500s, following Jacques Cartier's voyages. Question 22. In 1604, where did French explorers Pierre de Monts and Samuel de Champlain establish the first European settlement north of Florida? A. St. Croix Island. B. Newfoundland. C. Quebec. D. Cape Breton Island. The correct answer is A. St. Croix Island. Explanation: in 1604, French explorers Pierre de Monts and Samuel de Champlain established the first European settlement north of Florida, on St. Croix Island, in present-day Maine and New Brunswick. Question 23. In 1608, where did Samuel de Champlain build a fortress? A. Montreal. B. St. Croix Island. C. Ottawa. D. Quebec City. The correct answer is D. Quebec City. Explanation: in 1608, Samuel de Champlain built a fortress at Quebec City, creating one of the first permanent French settlements in North America. Question 24. Who fought against French settlements for over a century? A. The Huron Confederacy, known for their trade alliances. B. The Iroquois Confederacy, a coalition of 5, later 6, First Nations. C. The Algonquin Confederacy, who allied with the French. D. The Sioux Confederacy, known for their conflicts in the plains. The correct answer is B. The Iroquois Confederacy, a coalition of 5, later 6, First Nations. Explanation: the Iroquois Confederacy, a coalition of 5, later 6, First Nations, fought against French settlements for over a century. Question 25. In what year did the French and the Iroquois make peace? A. 1620. B. 1701. C. 1650. D. 1750. The correct answer is B. 1701. Explanation: the French and the Iroquois made peace in 1701. This was formalized in the Great Peace of Montreal, a treaty that ended decades of conflict between the French and the Iroquois Confederacy, and helped establish more stable relations between Indigenous peoples and European settlers in New France. Question 26. What led the French and Aboriginal people to work together in the fur trade? A. Demand for beaver pelts in Europe. B. Need for farming goods. C. Expanding territories. D. Gold and silver trading. The correct answer is A. Demand for beaver pelts in Europe. Explanation: the demand for beaver pelts in Europe led the French and Aboriginal people to work together in the fur trade. Question 27. What was the main economy of the early European settlers? A. Farming. B. Mining. C. Fur trade. D. Fishing. The correct answer is C. Fur trade. Explanation: the fur trade, involving exchanges of animal pelts with Indigenous people, was the main source of income for early European settlers. Question 28. What was the primary industry that early companies in Canada competed in? A. Oil drilling. B. The fur trade. C. Mining gold. D. Lumber production. The correct answer is B. The fur trade. Explanation: early companies like the Hudson's Bay Company were founded primarily to compete in the profitable fur trade market. Question 29. In 1670, which company was granted exclusive trading rights over the Hudson Bay watershed? A. Hudson's Bay Company. B. East India Company. C. Northwest Company. D. British Fur Company. The correct answer is A. Hudson's Bay Company. Explanation: in 1670, the Hudson's Bay Company was granted exclusive trading rights over the Hudson Bay watershed, establishing it as a dominant force in the fur trade. Question 30. Who granted exclusive trading rights to the Hudson's Bay Company in 1670? A. King James I. B. King Charles II. C. King George III. D. King Henry VIII. The correct answer is B. King Charles II. Explanation: in 1670, King Charles II of England granted exclusive trading rights to the Hudson's Bay Company. This royal charter allowed the company control over the Hudson Bay watershed area, known as Rupert's Land, giving it a monopoly on the fur trade in a vast region of what is now Canada. Question 31. Who were the men who traveled by canoe and formed alliances with First Nations? A. Pioneers. B. Trappers. C. Voyageurs and coureurs des bois. D. Settlers. The correct answer is C. Voyageurs and coureurs des bois. Explanation: Voyageurs and coureurs des bois were the men who traveled by canoe and formed alliances with First Nations. Question 32. When did the English colonies along the Atlantic seaboard begin to form? A. In the early 1500s. B. In the late 1600s. C. In the early 1700s. D. In the early 1600s. The correct answer is D. In the early 1600s. Explanation: the English colonies along the Atlantic seaboard began to form in the early 1600s. Question 33. Which two countries battled for control of North America in the 1700s? A. Spain and Portugal. B. France and Great Britain. C. Netherlands and Spain. D. France and Spain. The correct answer is B. France and Great Britain. Explanation: in the 1700s, France and Britain battled for control of North America. This conflict culminated in the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, known in North America as the French and Indian War. Question 34. Who took control of North America in the 1700s? A. England. B. Spain. C. France. D. Portugal. The correct answer is A. England. Explanation: England gained control over North America in the 1700s. Question 35. What was the name of Quebec before 1759? A. New Canada. B. Lower Canada. C. New France. D. Quebec Territory. The correct answer is C. New France. Explanation: before 1759, Quebec was known as New France. Question 36. Which battle in 1759 ended France's empire in America? A. Battle of Waterloo. B. Battle of Fort Duquesne. C. Battle of the Plains of Abraham. D. Battle of Quebec. The correct answer is C. Battle of the Plains of Abraham. Explanation: the Battle of the Plains of Abraham in 1759 ended France's empire in America, as British forces captured Quebec City, leading to British control of French territories. Question 37. Following the Battle of the Plains of Abraham, Great Britain renamed the French colony. A. Province of Ontario. B. Province of Canada. C. Province of Montreal. D. Province of Quebec. The correct answer is D. Province of Quebec. Explanation: following the Battle of the Plains of Abraham, Great Britain renamed the French colony of New France as the Province of Quebec. Question 38. What were the French-speaking Catholic people known as? A. Loyalists. B. Canadians or habitants. C. Acadians. D. Patriots. The correct answer is B. Canadians or habitants. Explanation: the French-speaking Catholic people in Quebec were known as Canadians. They preserved their language, religion, and culture despite British rule. Question 39. What act did the British Parliament pass in 1774 to better govern the French Roman Catholic majority? A. Quebec Act. B. British North America Act. C. Constitutional Act. D. Royal Proclamation. The correct answer is A. Quebec Act. Explanation: the British Parliament passed the Quebec Act in 1774 to better govern the French Roman Catholic majority in Quebec by recognizing their rights and customs. Question 40. What did the Quebec Act of 1774 allow that was not permitted in Britain at that time? A. It allowed religious freedom for Catholics and permitted them to hold public office. B. It allowed Protestants to vote. C. It abolished the monarchy in Quebec. D. It banned trade with Britain. The correct answer is A. It allowed religious freedom for Catholics and permitted them to hold public office. Explanation: the Quebec Act allowed freedom of religion for Catholics, which was a significant concession since it was not permitted in Britain at that time. Question 41. The Quebec Act of 1774. A. Kept both civil and criminal British law. B. Replaced all laws with British law. C. Replaced all laws with French law. D. Restored French civil law while maintaining British criminal law. The correct answer is D. Restored French civil law while maintaining British criminal law. Explanation: the Quebec Act of 1774 restored French civil law while maintaining British criminal law. Question 42. In 1776, the 13 British colonies to the south of Quebec declared independence and formed A. The United States. B. Canada. C. The British Empire. D. New France. The correct answer is A. The United States. Explanation: in 1776, the 13 British colonies south of Quebec declared independence and formed the United States of America, marking the start of the American Revolution. Question 43. Who were known as the United Empire Loyalists? A. American settlers who supported independence. B. Canadian settlers who returned to the U.S. C. British settlers who moved to Canada during and after the American Revolution. D. French settlers who came to Canada for trade. The correct answer is C. British settlers who moved to Canada during and after the American Revolution. Explanation: the Loyalists were settlers from the U.S. who came to Canada during and after the American Revolution. Question 44. Who led thousands of Loyalist Mohawk Indians into Canada during the American Revolution? A. Joseph Brant. B. Samuel de Champlain. C. James Wolfe. D. Marquis de Montcalm. The correct answer is A. Joseph Brant. Explanation: Joseph Brant led thousands of Loyalist Mohawk Indians into Canada during the American Revolution, where they were granted land for their loyalty to the British. Question 45. During the American Revolution, How many black loyalists, freedmen, and slaves came north seeking a better life? A. Nearly 1,000. B. Nearly 2,000. C. Nearly 3,000. D. Nearly 4,000. The correct answer is C. Nearly 3,000. Explanation: about 3,000 black loyalists, including freedmen and enslaved people, moved north to Canada during the American Revolution, seeking a better life and protection under British law. Question 46. In 1792, where did some black Nova Scotians move to establish a new British colony for freed slaves? A. Jamaica. B. Sierra Leone. C. Ghana. D. Liberia. The correct answer is B. Sierra Leone. Explanation: in 1792, some black Nova Scotians moved to Sierra Leone to establish a new British colony for freed slaves. Question 47. What was Count Frontenac's famous reply when asked to surrender Quebec to the English in 1690? A. I will negotiate peace. B. My only reply will be from the mouths of my cannons. C. We will retreat. D. We surrender. The correct answer is B. My only reply will be from the mouths of my cannons. Explanation: Count Frontenac famously replied, I will answer with the mouths of my cannons, when asked to surrender Quebec to the English in 1690, marking Quebec's resistance to British forces. Question 48. Who was Pierre Le Moyne, aka Sire d'Iberville, and what was he known for? A. A French soldier who defended Quebec City. B. A French hero who won victories over the English from James Bay to the Caribbean. C. A Loyalist leader who settled in Nova Scotia. D. A Canadian politician. The correct answer is B. A French hero who won victories over the English from James Bay to the Caribbean. Explanation: Pierre Le Moyne, Sire d'Iberville, was a French hero known for winning victories over the English from James Bay to the Caribbean. Question 49. What did Sir Guy Carleton, Lord Dorchester, do as Governor of Quebec? A. Defended the rights of the Canadians. B. Defeated an American invasion in 1775. C. Supervised Loyalist migration to Nova Scotia and Quebec in 1782–83. D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. All of the above. Explanation: as Governor of Quebec, Sir Guy Carleton, Lord Dorchester, defended the rights of the Canadians, defeated an American invasion in 1775, and supervised Loyalist migration to Nova Scotia and Quebec in 1782–83. Question 50. Where was the first representative assembly in Canada elected? A. In Prince Edward Island. B. In Upper Canada. C. In Halifax, Nova Scotia. D. In Quebec City. The correct answer is C. In Halifax, Nova Scotia. Explanation: the first representative assembly in Canada was elected in Nova Scotia in 1758, marking an important step toward self-government and democratic representation. Question 51. Where was the first representative assembly in Canada elected? A. 1776. B. 1758. C. 1791. D. 1800. The correct answer is B. 1758. Explanation: the first representative assembly in Canada was elected in Nova Scotia in 1758, marking an important step towards self-government and democratic representation. Question 52. What did the Constitutional Act of 1791 do to the province of Quebec? A. Divided it into Upper Canada, later Ontario, and Lower Canada, later Quebec. B. United it with the United States. C. Established a single government for all of Canada. D. Gave independence to Quebec. The correct answer is A. Divided it into Upper Canada, later Ontario, and Lower Canada, later Quebec. Explanation: the Constitutional Act of 1791 divided Quebec into Upper Canada, English-speaking, and Lower Canada, French-speaking, creating separate regions for each population. Question 53. When was the Constitutional Act passed? A. 1781. B. 1791. C. 1801. D. 1811. The correct answer is B. 1791. Explanation: the Constitutional Act was passed in 1791. This act divided the province of Quebec into two separate colonies, Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Question 54. After the Constitutional Act of 1791, which part of the province of Quebec was mainly Protestant and English-speaking? A. Upper Canada, later Ontario. B. Lower Canada, later Quebec. C. Both Upper and Lower Canada. D. Newfoundland. The correct answer is A. Upper Canada, later Ontario. Explanation: after the Constitutional Act, Upper Canada became mainly English-speaking, settled by Loyalists and other English-speaking immigrants. Question 55. After the Constitutional Act of 1791, which part of Quebec was mainly Catholic and French-speaking? A. Upper Canada, later Ontario. B. Lower Canada, later Quebec. C. Both Upper and Lower Canada. D. Prince Edward Island. The correct answer is B. Lower Canada, later Quebec. Explanation: after the Constitutional Act, Lower Canada remained mainly Catholic and French-speaking, preserving the traditions and culture of French settlers. Question 56. What did the Constitutional Act of 1791 give to Upper and Lower Canada for the first time? A. A written constitution. B. The right to vote for all citizens. C. Independence from Britain. D. Elected legislative assemblies. The correct answer is D. Elected legislative assemblies. Explanation: the Constitutional Act gave Upper and Lower Canada their first elected legislative assemblies. Question 57. When did the name Canada become official? A. After the Battle of Quebec. B. With the Constitutional Act of 1791. C. When the Loyalists arrived. D. In 1805. The correct answer is B. With the Constitutional Act of 1791. Explanation: the name Canada became official in 1791 with the Constitutional Act, which created Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Question 58. The Atlantic colonies and the two Canadas were collectively known as A. British North America. B. Upper Canada. C. The French territories. D. The Loyalist provinces. The correct answer is A. British North America. Explanation: the Atlantic colonies and the two Canadas were collectively known as British North America. Question 59. Who was the first Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada? A. Samuel de Champlain. B. John A. Macdonald. C. Lieutenant Colonel John Graves Simcoe. D. George Brown. The correct answer is C. Lieutenant Colonel John Graves Simcoe. Explanation: John Graves Simcoe was the first Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada. He played a key role in developing the province's institutions and infrastructure. Question 60. Who founded the city of York, now known as Toronto? A. Samuel de Champlain. B. Lieutenant Colonel John Graves Simcoe. C. James Wolfe. D. Sir Isaac Brock. The correct answer is B. Lieutenant Colonel John Graves Simcoe. Explanation: Lieutenant Colonel John Graves Simcoe founded the city of York, now Toronto, which became the capital of Upper Canada and an important centre for trade and government. Question 61. Who was an anti-slavery activist and the first woman publisher in Canada? A. Mary and Shad Kay. B. Emily Carr. C. Nellie McClung. D. Frances Allen. The correct answer is A. Mary and Shad Kay. Explanation: Mary and Shad was an anti-slavery activist and the first woman publisher in Canada. Question 62. In 1793, who led Upper Canada to become the first province in the British Empire to move toward abolishing slavery? A. Sir Isaac Brock. B. William Lyon Mackenzie. C. Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe. D. George Etienne Cartier. The correct answer is C. Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe. Explanation: Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe led Upper Canada to pass legislation in 1793 to restrict and eventually end slavery. Question 63. When did the British Parliament abolish slavery throughout the Empire? A. In 1807. B. In 1833. C. In 1850. D. In 1865. The correct answer is B. In 1833. Explanation: the British Parliament abolished slavery throughout the Empire in 1833, freeing all enslaved people in British territories. Question 64. How did thousands of slaves escape from the United States to Canada, following the North Star? A. Through the Underground Railroad. B. Through secret paths. C. Through the mountains. D. None of the above. The correct answer is A. Through the Underground Railroad. Explanation: thousands of slaves escaped from the United States to Canada by following the North Star, which guided them along routes known as the Underground Railroad. Question 65. What was the Underground Railroad that helped thousands of slaves escape to Canada? A. A secret railway system. B. A Christian anti-slavery network. C. A military organization. D. A political movement. The correct answer is B. A Christian anti-slavery network. Explanation: The Underground Railroad was a Christian anti-slavery network that helped thousands of slaves escape to Canada, where they could live freely under British law. Question 66. When were the first companies in Canada formed? A. During the French and British regimes. B. During the American Revolution. C. After Confederation. D. In the 19th century. The correct answer is A. During the French and British regimes. Explanation: the first companies in Canada were formed during the French and British regimes to engage in the fur trade and other economic activities. Question 67. Which company dominated the fur trade in early Canadian history? A. The Montreal Fur Company. B. The Northwest Company. C. The British East India Company. D. The Hudson's Bay Company. The correct answer is D. The Hudson's Bay Company. Explanation: the Hudson's Bay Company dominated the fur trade in early Canadian history, controlling vast territories and shaping the region's economic landscape. Question 68. The Montreal Stock Exchange opened in A. 1832, B. 1800, C. 1871, D. 1850. The correct answer is A. 1832. Explanation: the Montreal Stock Exchange opened in 1832, becoming Canada's first stock exchange. Question 69. When did the first financial institutions open in Canada? A. Late 17th century. B. Late 18th and early 19th centuries. C. Mid-19th century. D. Early 20th century. The correct answer is B. Late 18th and early 19th centuries. Explanation: the first financial institutions in Canada opened in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Question 70. How did Canada's democratic institutions develop? A. Radical reforms. B. Revolutions. C. Gradually, peacefully. D. Conflict. The correct answer is C. Gradually, peacefully. Explanation: Canada's democratic system evolved over time through gradual and peaceful changes rather than violent revolutions. Question 71. For centuries, Canada's economy was based mainly on A. Manufacturing and technology. B. Farming and exporting natural resources. C. Mining and agriculture. D. Trade and finance. The correct answer is B. Farming and exporting natural resources. Explanation: for centuries, Canada's economy was primarily based on natural resources, including the fur trade, timber, and fisheries, which were central to the country's development. Question 72. In 1805, Napoleon Bonaparte's fleet was defeated in A. Battle of Waterloo. B. Battle of Austerlitz. C. Battle of the Nile. D. Battle of Trafalgar. The correct answer is D. Battle of Trafalgar. Explanation: in 1805, Napoleon Bonaparte's fleet was defeated at the Battle of Trafalgar by the British Royal Navy. Question 73. Why did the United States invade Canada in June 1812? A. To expand its territory. B. To support Bonaparte. C. To retaliate against British interference with shipping. D. to gain control over natural resources. The correct answer is C. To retaliate against British interference with shipping. Explanation: the United States invaded Canada in June 1812 to retaliate against British interference with shipping. Question 74. When did the United States launch its invasion of Canada? A. June 1812. B. May 1850. C. July 1817. D. August 1824. The correct answer is A. June 1812. Explanation: the United States launched its invasion of Canada in June 1812, which lasted until 1814. Question 75. Why is the War of 1812 important to Canada? A. It led to Canada gaining independence from Britain. B. It marked the time when Canada successfully defended its territory from American invasion. C. It resulted in the unification of Canadian provinces. D. It allowed Canada to expand its territory to the west. The correct answer is B. It marked the time when Canada successfully defended its territory from American invasion. Explanation: the War of 1812 is important to Canada because it marked the time when Canada successfully defended its territory from American invasion. Question 76. The War of 1812 was fought between A. France and USA. B. UK and France. C. UK and US. D. US and Canada. The correct answer is C. UK and US. Explanation: the War of 1812 was a conflict between the United Kingdom and the United States, mainly over issues like trade restrictions and territorial expansion. Question 77. Who captured Detroit in July during the War of 1812? A. Major General Sir Isaac Brock. B. Lieutenant General John Graves Simcoe. C. General William Hull. D. Colonel Charles de Salaberry. The correct answer is A. Major General Sir Isaac Brock. Explanation: Major General Sir Isaac Brock captured Detroit in July during the War of 1812, making an important victory for British and Canadian forces early in the war. Question 78. By 1814, the American attempt to conquer Canada: A. Succeeded. B. Failed. C. Was ongoing. D. Led to a truce. The correct answer is B. Failed. Explanation: by 1814, the American attempt to conquer Canada had failed. Question 79. In 1813, who made a dangerous 19-mile journey on foot to warn Lieutenant James Fitzgibbon of an American attack? A. Laura Secord. B. Mary Wollstonecraft. C. Elizabeth Simcoe. D. Molly Brant. The correct answer is A. Laura Secord. Explanation: in 1813, Laura Secord made a dangerous 19-mile journey on foot to warn Lieutenant James Fitzgibbon of an American attack, contributing to a key victory for the British. Question 80. Who defeated Napoleon in 1815 and played a direct role in founding Canada's national capital? A. George Washington. B. Sir John A. Macdonald. C. The Duke of Wellington. D. Lord Durham. The correct answer is C. The Duke of Wellington. Explanation: in 1815, the Duke of Wellington, Arthur Wellesley, defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo, effectively ending the Napoleonic Wars.